What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and uh, welcome. I love you. Click subscribe. You're a keeper. Want to keep you around. I don't know if anybody's told you that you're very special. You're special to me because you clicked subscribe. This is my final Oscar predictions video. I'm doing it a little bit early because why not? There's nothing that's going to change. We have no precursors between now and Oscar nominations on Thursday, so the BAFTA nominations come out afterwards. So they're not really going to affect anything. So everybody else is just going to debate and say, for the next couple days. I'm going to get some wrong. Everybody's going to get some wrong. There's going to be some surprises. It's been a long time since I've had like a really excellent track record in terms of nominations. I'm gonna be honest and just say that sometimes I get like a whole category and I get really excited. I'm like, oh my god, I went 5 for 5. Oh my god, I went. I think this category is shaping up to be that. It's always hard to predict those like left field nominations though, and to see them coming. And that's where you get the points, is if you can see a left field snub or a left field nomination. Because there's always like two or three of them where people just go, what in fresh hell? Uh Like, we saw Song Song Blue nominated for cinematography, and if somebody's bold enough to pick that for cinematography and it ends up happening, kudos. Kudos to you, sir, for having the boldness to believe that that is possible for that film and that it actually, I guess, in your world happens. So, what do we have? Picture. We're gonna start with the top. I'm gonna move through this pretty quickly. One Battle, uh, definitely, right? Sinners, Marty Supreme, Hamnet, Frankenstein, those are all getting in. I think Train Dreams has done enough. I think it used to be kind of like, will it get in? How many Netflix movies? Which Netflix movie? I think Train Dreams has sort of emerged. I think that PGA nomination really helped Train Dreams secure its spot. It's done pretty well for itself. Golden Globe nomination. So it's going to get probably a couple other nominations, so it won't feel like it just like limped onto this list. Uh, so I'll give that the sixth place spot. Seventh place spot, I think Sentimental Value is, of Neon's films, the one that's most secure in the race. So we'll go ahead and slot that. And that leaves me with 8, 9, and 10. So in eighth place, I've actually, I thought it was encroaching upon the race and that it was fighting for 10th place spot. I don't anymore. I actually think Begonia is pretty solid for the top 10. I would be more surprised to see it gone than anything else. It's kind of shown up everywhere it needs to show up. It's only missed a couple times. I think it is definitely a film that benefits from the expanded list of nominations, but I think it has enough following behind it. The question is, which nominations will it follow with? So, and it's possible that it may be one of the lower nominated Best Picture movies. So, um, next up is the final two spots, the neon of it all. Neon's definitely getting another international feature nomination here. And I think Secret Agent is on the upswing, whereas It Was Just an Accident has kind of flatlined a bit. So I'm actually going to put Secret Agent above It Was Just an Accident. And so that leaves me with It Was Just an Accident. Now, Jafar Panahi has been an interesting contender, but PTA has sort of dominated the race so much. And then you have Ryan Coogler. So the kind of love that we expect for Jafar Panahi for what he does for It Was Just an Accident hasn't even really come his way. But if I don't predict It Was Just an Accident, what do I predict? I don't think the other Neon movies are going to slide in. No Other Choice hasn't been a major contender this season, and Surat has always felt like it's number 5, but it did pick up enough support in the shortlists that maybe it's a little bit closer. I don't think Wicked for Good happens here. Black Panther Wakanda Forever didn't happen. So it doesn't always bring in the sequel. And Wicked for Good has kind of struggled a little bit this season. in terms of nominations. I think it's probably a little bit closer than most people are willing to admit. Like it'll end up being 12th or 13th. The problem is finding another nomination. So if we look at the other PGA films, we see Weapons and F1. Weapons would be an interesting Best Picture nomination. That would be the third film for Warner Brothers on this list. Instead of the third film for Neon. If we went with F1, it's really what Apple's pushing. But does that feel like a Best Picture? You know, F1 is a great contender on a list where we don't have blockbuster movies on it already, but we do already kind of have Sinners. And while it went to Netflix, Frankenstein feels like the kind of blockbuster movie. It feels like that big scope type film. One Battle also costs like $180 million. So you can't say at least it doesn't feel like a big scope movie. So does F1 make it as the populist choice over it was just an accident? I don't see anything else. I would have to believe that Jay Kelly was going to get nominated somewhere else in order for Jay Kelly to get the nomination. And I don't know that that can happen. Adam Sandler seems to be getting left out. I don't know that he's, it's tough because I can't just say Jay Kelly gets Best Picture than nothing. You know, there's enough love for Jay Kelly in picture, but not anywhere else. Doesn't make any sense. So, with all of that and the belief that it was just an accident, I think has flatlined. I'm actually going to change up my pace. I thought Neon was going to get 3 internationals in. I'm going to switch it up and go for F1 and say that because I think F1 is going to get several below the line nominations, even without any nominations, you know, above, I don't know, like cinematography, which you could get. I just don't think. I think it was just an accident. Is not the strongest of the internationals anymore. I think Sentimental Value, I think Secret Agent has overtaken it. And I could be wrong. I'm trying not to use my bias against Neon and their lack of audio description to drive this discussion. But those are the two that I think are up for the 10th place spot. F1 and it was just an accident. I don't really see anything else being competitive here. I don't think they're going to go for a big swing with Weapons. I'm encouraged by F1's appearance on the PGAs. And it is generally a well-liked movie. And Apple hasn't really had anything else to push. As a matter of fact, they've actually kind of under-pushed The Lost Bus at you know, which is kind of sad, but so we'll go with F1. Final prediction. I'm dropping it was just an accident. I'm going for the swing. We'll see if I miss. Best Director. I'm going to go for another swing here. It was a swing I mentioned in another one of my videos, and I'm sticking to it. But again, I'm a little worried. So did I change up how I'm sticking with it a little bit? I think I have. So I'm going to go with Paul Thomas Anderson, Ryan Coogler. I'm going to go with Josh Safdie. I'm going to go with Guillermo del Toro. And I'm going to go with, I want to say Jafar Panahi, but I also think it's possible that based on the strength of Sentimental Value, that Sentimental Value gets the final spot here instead of it was just an accident for that last spot. I think they might snub Chloe. There has been this idea that every year we're going to get a female Oscar nomination here. True. The difference is I don't think Hamnet is quite the powerhouse, and she does have an Oscar, not just a nomination, but a win. So the power to vote for her, whereas some other people may be voting to get some of these other people on the list, I don't think she's towards the top. I actually think she's towards the bottom. I think she's at risk of losing her spot. So because we didn't gravitate toward another female director this year, like Mary Bronstein for Fight Legs, like Kick You, Lynn Ramsey for Die My Love, or any of the multitude of female auteurs that did films, uh, yeah, we may not have a female amongst the ranks this year. So, strangely enough, Del Toro, the reason why I would say he gets the nomination is Del Toro's campaign has been excellent. He is very much a champion of actual film and hates AI, and really wants to continue to use practical effects. He also, when he's not campaigning his own films, always makes sure to get out there and campaign for other people. And Frankenstein is definitely going to do a lot of sweeping. I think he's well liked within his branch. I think people appreciate what he does. And I think his chances here are a little bit stronger than people are giving it credit for. And there's definitely going to be an international nominee here. And I wonder if Panahi can get here without it was just an accident being in picture. I think it's not outside the realm of possibility for him to get it over Joachim Trier. But I'm going with Trier right now for sentimental value and saying that it was just an accident, underperforms, and ends up only an international feature. But they do well with their other films, so. Although Accident could get into original script. We'll get there in a second, so I forgot. Anyway, moving on. So those are my nominees. Anderson, Coogler, Safdie, Del Toro, and Trier. Actor, Chalamet, DiCaprio, and then yeah, everyone else, right? Like the other, who fills the other spots. Wow, I think Michael B. Jordan has done enough to get in this year with a nomination. He's always sort of been flickering on and off for me, and his support has been pretty solid. And I didn't think Sinners was going to get an acting nomination this year, but it's looking more and more like it will. So I think Michael B. Jordan does get his first acting nomination this year for Sinners. Some other films have kind of faded away, and he seems to be a little bit stronger than I was giving him credit for. Another person that I think is going to appear, despite the lack of the xenophobic actor awards, is Wagner Moura. I think he's in here for The Secret Agent. His win at the Golden Globes, the speech, which is like right before they started voting on the nominees, I think that helped. It put his profile, reminded everybody he was there. And there's been such a focus. There have been articles that have been written about the lack of international nominees at SAG. So yeah, I think if people noticed, they took a look at it and went, yep, we're not going to forget him here. So I think if anything, he's going to get more votes, which will secure him the place. So who gets the fifth place spot? Is it Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon? Or is it Joel Edgerton for Train Dreams? Is it anybody else? Could anyone else get in here? I don't think so. Jesse Plemons for Begonia. If Begonia overperforms, I think he's got a shot. I think Dwayne is out. I think he needed to win the Globe to get back in the race. So, but still, so he's a little like a Pamela Anderson this season. Like, he came close, he was in some places, he got some awards recognition. I think that's better than the lack of stuff that he got before. I can't think of anyone else. Leah from No Other Choice. No, I just don't think the film's coming on strong enough. I think it's between Joel Edgerton, Train Dreams, whose film is in the Best Picture race, Jesse Plemons, Begonia, whose film is probably in the Best Picture race, and Ethan Hawke, Blue Moon, whose film is not. Now, you don't want to predict too many people whose films are not in the Best Picture race, but I do have one battle. I have Marty Supreme, I have Sinners, and I have Secret Agent. And I predicted all those. So for right now, I'm gonna stick with Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon. I think his performance has attracted enough attention for him to get his third Oscar nomination and his first in the leading category. Um, I think Joel's gonna have to wait, but I do think he has a slightly better chance than um, Plemons. I think he's in sixth, so that's tough. I think Ethan Hawke is fifth. If anybody here loses a spot, it'll be Hawke for Blue Moon. So, but they don't need to all be from Best Picture nominees either. Like, that's not a thing. We can have one person who's not from a Best Picture nominee. I feel comfortable with that. Actress. Plemons, Byrne, obviously. Despite her exclusion from, again, the weird, I don't know what was happening with the Screen Actors Guild. Renata Reinsfeld will be back with Sentimental Value. She's getting the nomination. She's coming for it. I think, uh, I think they're gonna give it to Chase Infinity for One Battle, because I think One Battle is just gonna, like, the love for One Battle is just gonna be so much where people just go, oh my god, Ermagerd. And she earns her first lead actress nomination for like a debut feature, and we've done this before. Quavajene Wallace, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we don't give people Keisha Castle Hughes, right? Whale Rider, like, it's possible. There's been so much attention that's been given to Chase Infinity this whole season, and she's in those ladies weren't even in the presumed frontrunner for Best Picture. Chase benefits from being the presumed frontrunner for Best Picture. So who gets the final spot? I resist and I refuse to put Emma Stone in there. I just believe that at the end of the day, she just got her second win. I think there's something to be said for them holding her to a higher standard and saying, we liked Begonia, but do you really need this nomination? Like, are you really up for a third Oscar? Has it been long enough? We just gave you one. You know, it's just like 2 years ago you were here in the same category. She already has a lot of nominations. It's not like she's wanting for nominations. But who else? Like, who else is out there? I feel like Sydney Sweeney's is dead, and I think Jennifer Lawrence for Die My Love is a long shot. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked for Good feels like a long shot at this point. So, um, a lot of people are putting a lot of stock in that Eva Victor shout out from Julia Roberts. I don't think that gets them into the actress race. I think that gets them maybe as a screenplay. But it's weird because they were recognized at Globes as an actress. So if anybody was going to look at them for anything, it would be for acting, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that have boosted Eva Victor for acting instead of for screenplay? I know people are interpreting it as the fact that it'll break her into the screenplay race, but doesn't that break Eva Victor into the acting race? The shout out? I know it was during Best Musical or Comedy, and Eva was nominated in Actress Drama, but um, I don't know. So I definitely wouldn't throw her out. I feel like this last one is going to be a surprise. And um, so I'm going to take a swing. But I don't want to take a swing at Eva Victor. I'm going to take a swing and say Kate Hudson for Song Song Blue or Tessa Thompson for Hedda. And that we get a what? Nomination at the last minute. There's been a lot of focus on Kate Hudson. I have a lot of thoughts that I've heard from the mobility disability community about her performance and it not being great. I don't think the Oscars care, and I don't think they've heard quite a backlash on that performance. And if I was ignoring it or resisting it, I wish Amanda Seyfried was more in play here, but I think Fox Searchlight is looking for a new publicity team for next year. I don't know. So my final Oscar prediction is Kate Hudson for Song Song Blue, but I think it's going to be a surprise. I think this fifth place spot could be, I think it could be Tessa Thompson. I think it could be Ava Victor. I just don't see it being Emma Stone. I just don't see Emma Stone's name being called here for that category. Supporting actor. Moving on to the list, Stellan Skarsgård is still getting this nomination, regardless of how SAG feels about him. I don't, whatever. Uh, it does not matter. Matters not. He will still get the nomination. He's well respected by his peers and his international community, and the SAG nominating committee was some 2,000 people who I guess didn't like Sentimental Value. But the broad Oscar base will absolutely welcome him with open arms. After that, yeah, sure. I think the One Battle Boys are getting in. Benicio and Sean Penn. Even though Sean doesn't campaign, people use that as a reason for him not to get nominated. I just don't think that's a. If he doesn't campaign, then how did he win 2 Oscars? Like, anyway, so it's sort of a whatever. And then Paul Mescal for Hamnet. I think those are the four. At the fifth place is Jacob. I know people are like, oh, he could win. Could he? Could he? Like, I know you won one award, and genre bias is playing in heavily here, but Jacob Elordi, this is like his first. He's young. This is his first nomination. I don't know that he's gonna win, but I do think he defeated all of his other potentials. I think he's gonna beat out Adam Sandler. I think the Sinners, Miles Caton. People are like, what about Miles Caton? I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't be. I'd be voting for Delroy Lindo. I would love to see Delroy Lindo's surprise here. I'd love to be wrong about anyone but Stellan. Stellan deserves a nomination after this long ass career, but so does Delroy. I'd love to see Delroy surprise, and I would be perfectly fine with him taking out Benicio, Sean, Paul, or Jacob for that to happen. I'd be upset if it was Stellan because this is like a career achievement for him as well, and that really puts me in a like having to choose between two people who've been acting forever. But yeah, one of the others can give up their spot for Delroy, and I'm fine with missing if it's Delroy. But my final prediction is Jacob Elordi. I don't think Sandler gets in this year. I started the year thinking we were gonna get Dwayne Johnson and Adam Sandler, and then I was like, nah, I don't think that's gonna happen. The further we get away from it, it feels like the further they get away from the fifth place spot. And anyway, next up on the list is, yeah, I think Jake Kelly may actually get no Oscar nominations, which is so weird because it feels like the kind of film that does get Oscar nominations. I mean, it's kind of about that. Anyway, actress, supporting actress. Yeah, Amy Madigan, yes, it's getting in here. Tiana Taylor's getting in here for One Battle After Another. I think Ariana Grande still gets in for Wicked for Good. Most people have been noticing she has a little bit different of an emphasis on her characters. Arrivo didn't quite get the satisfaction in her character. Personally, for me, it came down to the performances. Arrivo would win an Oscar if they would let her do it live, instead of doing studio recordings of her voice. But it's too pretty, and she's not getting the grit in there that she needs to from a live performance. There's a difference, like when you hear somebody do it live and then you hear like the recording of it. If you do enough Broadway theater, you know what I'm talking about. You listen to the cast album and it sounds pretty. But if it's a studio recorded cast album, you know what I'm talking. If they recorded live on stage, and of course you get the nitty gritty, I think she's lacking that. So, but Ariana, I think it felt very like, okay, this is why we picked Ariana. So, what to do with the final 2 spots? I think Elle Fanning's gonna miss. I think we're gonna give it to Lilias Hofstadter, Sentimental Value. I think she gets in. I will learn her name eventually. I think they're gonna snub Elle Fanning 2 years in a row, sadly. And I think the question is that last nomination. And while people think Sinners is going to surge here with Naomi Musaka, I think Odessa Zion. I need to. I need another name. I need to learn how to pronounce. Odessa Zion is my final prediction for supporting actress. for Marty Supreme. I just, Gwyneth Paltrow just hasn't really taken off, which is a shame because it feels like she should have. Casting, uh, they're gonna give it to One Battle just because, uh, because they're just gonna nominate it everywhere. I don't think it needs a casting award because I don't think any casting really happened in that movie. I think Paul Thomas Anderson picked up a phone and called a lot of people. But I guess there are supporting characters that they had to cast that are not, DiCaprio and people like that. Sinners will get the nomination. Um, I really want Weapons to get this nomination. Weapons did make the short list, and Weapons has such an interesting story. I kind of want Weapons to be my swing on this category and say that not all of the casting nominees get Best Picture nominations. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do those two. I'm gonna do Marty Supreme. I'm gonna do Hamnet, and then I'm gonna do Weapons over like Frankenstein or anything else. Yeah, I think Weapons will surprise here. That's my prediction. For those who don't know the Weapons story, they lost their entire cast and had to be replaced. So a casting director and replaced quickly too, so they could shoot the movie. I think Amy Madigan was the only person they didn't lose, which is working out in her favor. Um, but like Julia Gardner was originally Renata Reinsve, for example. So I think it worked out in their favor. Original screenplay. Sinners, Cinema Value. I know what I would like to see here. I'm trying to measure my expectations of want with likeliness. I think those two make the cut. And then after that, I don't think there could be too many swings here. The thing is that there are a lot of sort of interesting nomination choices that could come in here, like Blue Moon, Sorry Baby, Twinless. I mean, if people have been watching Twinless, it feels like a nomination that could just suddenly sneak into screenplay and then nothing else, kind of like Sorry Baby does. So, uh, yeah, let's do. I'll say it was just an accident. Does appear somewhere else other than international feature, and I'll be nice and give it was just an accident a mention here. And then Marty Supreme original. It's got to be original, right? Like, what the fuck is it adapted from? I think it's an original. I was trying to. Is it an original or adapt? I think it's original. So Marty Supreme, and then for the final spot, for my swing, God, is it Weapons? Is it Sorry Baby? Is it Blue Moon? Is it Twinless? I feel like it'll be a little bit of a surprise. So, fuck it, I'll go with Sorry Baby, Eva Victor, and say Sorry Baby gets in, surprising people and making that thing happen. Adapted, One Battle, Begonia, Frankenstein. What else is adapted here that could make the cut? I'm encouraged by No Other Choice because if people have figured out this is a great way to give the director a nomination because he also wrote the screenplay, hopefully they'll pick that up. So I'll go with No Other Choice. I know a lot of people have started to drop that from their lists. I think Train Dreams is my last one. So those will be the 5. We'll go with that. Whatever. Let's do animated feature. This is real easy. K-pop Demon Hunters, Zootopia 2, Arco, Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, and Elio. I don't know what else could possibly get in here. In Your Dreams has not been registering the way that I would have hoped it had registered. I'd be perfectly fine if it got the nomination over Elio. Endless Cookie hasn't really appeared anywhere. Demon Slayer, I don't see Demon Slayer getting the nomination. I just don't. Yeah, they're not going to give it to the bad guys too. I think those are the five. Those have pretty much been the five everywhere. I don't know why it would change. So, anyway, moving on. Documentary feature. Good God. The Perfect Neighbor, Netflix. I think that gets in. I think Netflix gets a second nomination with Cover Up. Um, I think Apple's going to get the nomination with Come See Me in the Good Light. I'm hoping. It's a little bit of a wish prediction, I'll admit. I hope that happens for them. I think we get 2,000 meters to Andrika here. And for the final spot, oh God, I feel like it's going to be a documentary I didn't see. I've seen most of them. And I feel like I'm going to safely pick the Alabama Solution, though. But I feel like there are like three documentaries in this race that I haven't seen and never got like a screener for, don't know where they are, how to watch them, anything like that. And I feel like I'm gonna get screwed by a documentary I didn't see. There are a couple like Israeli ish, but do they all split votes? That's what I'm wondering. There's the one that's with the name, and she was like a captor. She was like hostage that was held, and the film sounds really interesting. I haven't heard many people talk about it, but it's like if you're forced to watch a list of 15 films and that's on it, and you're like these are your films and you're supposed to watch them, then maybe it makes the cut. I think if I have to reorder them, I actually think Alabama Solution is in four, and I think Come See Me in the Good Light is in five. Come See Me in the Good Light feels like the kind of thing that you usually don't go for. Um, I would say it's made a little bit more impactful of the for this year, considering how the film changed. The ending sort of is different now, and the speech would be different should it win. But we'll see what happens. Apple was also able to throw a lot of money at it that other documentaries were not able to. So, international feature, the category. Oh my God. Can Neon get five? No, they cannot. I'm sorry, but they cannot. Um, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna say they get three. I'm gonna give them, of course, I have to give them Sentimental Value and Secret Agent because I don't think we've ever had an international film break into that was eligible for international and then not get in. So I have to give them spots. And I will say it was just an accident. I think it's is done enough to get into the race here, which leaves me with Surat and no other choice. The problem is I think Voice of Han Rajab gets in. I would be shocked if it doesn't. And we had a lot of strong contenders across the board. And some of them have been picking up like other spots. And I just don't think people are going to put five Neon films down, even if they like five Neon films. So what else are they putting? That's a great question. Um, there's some truly stunning sounding international features here. Obviously, I can't see them because they're not accessible, but I did try to watch some of them, like History Following, Palestine 36. Um, as what's the one from? There's another one that's about Palestine. There's like three of them that are about Palestine. That's up for the Spirit Award. So, uh, I'm gonna go with History of Falling here, and say that sneaks a nomination. It got into the shortlist for cinematography, and it's also Kiro is being backed by Tom Cruise. Homeland, I think that's the name of the film, the one from India. Scorsese's pushing that. There are some films from some contenders, and the people are rallying behind them. And I just think it's asinine to believe Neon gets five nominees just because they're Neon. It's just it's ignoring the fact that there are other celebrities that are trying to push these other international features. Voice of Han Rajab has also some big names behind it too. I don't know if anybody's behind Sound of Falling. It is Mubi, so they have the ability to push it a little bit harder. Um, President's Cake, Iraq has never been nominated in this category before. It's tough. But my advice to you would be don't predict 5. At best, predict 4, and try to figure out if you don't think Voice of Parmesan is getting in, fine, but pick something, because my prediction is they're not getting 5 spots. I think No Other Choice or Survive Bare Minimum gets left off the list. So, next up on the list is cinematography. One Battle, Hamnet, Sentimental Value, Train Dreams, and F1. Sure, it's a little hard for me to gauge cinematography being blind, but if I had to guess, I wonder if Sinners can get in here. Well, let me do that again. One Battle, Hamnet, Train Dreams for sure. I feel like those 3 are getting in. Sinners. I feel like Sinners is going to do a lot of sweeping, like One Battle, as much as it can. Those 2 films are going to pick up a lot of nominations. And then I'll put in Top Gun Maverick missed out on this category, didn't it? So they're not going to give it to F1. They're going to give it to Sentimental Value, I think. Yeah. So I'll go with that based on, I forgot they didn't nominate Top Gun Maverick here, even though it was considered like a front runner. So editing, Marty Supreme, F1 for sure. Feel like editing Sinners gets in here. What else benefits from editing heavily? Obvious. Frankenstein probably, and One Battle maybe. So kind of like the top 5, but instead of Hamnet, I'm swapping in F1 for Hamnet. I don't think a Hamnet needs an editing nomination. Production design. Frankenstein, Sinners. These are hard, not being able to see them. Sorry, we've gotten to the least interesting part of the category, me trying to figure out which films get these visual categories. Definitely Frankenstein and Sinners. Yeah, I think Wicked for Good could get a nomination here. I don't, because it's not like it's totally out of the race. It'll pick up a couple things, just won't like sweep like the last one did. And I don't know, I like, what else for this category? Could Train Dreams get a production design nomination? I mean, it's period. I'll go with Train Dreams and Marty Supreme because they're both period films. Yeah, I think Fantastic Four would be an inspired choice here. Just FYI, that would be my thought, but I just don't think I don't think that's on really anybody's radar. Costume design often looks a lot like production design. So let's say it's Frankenstein, Sinners, Wicked for Good, Marty Supreme, and instead I'm going to throw a curveball and say Testament of Ann Lee sneaks into costume design. I think people are watching it, and I think the costumes in that film are probably on point. So I'm going to throw Testament of Ann Lee a nomination and say Fox Searchlight gets 1 nomination this year somewhere. Makeup and hairstyling. It's weird the Weapons isn't here, but that's fine. Whatever. Frankenstein, Sinners, The Smashing Machine. Even though Dwayne isn't getting the nomination, I think they'll still give the film the lone nomination in makeup. Wicked for Good and Marty Supreme, maybe. I think One Battle could miss this category for sure. Like, it feels like the kind of category, like, if it oversweeps, it suddenly ends up here. But I think it misses. Um, so, score, One Battle, Sinners. Um, there's some interesting choices here. So this category could go in a completely different direction. I'll give it to Marty Supreme, Frankenstein, and for a curveball of a choice, let's say they give. Do I want to say Surratt? I'm sitting here thinking Surratt. Um, mm, I can't remember if F1 made the short list or not. Something tells me it didn't. So, I would love to see Begonia get a nomination here, but yeah, God, Secret Agent didn't get shortlisted either. You know what? I'll go with Begonia, and that'll be the swing. Is predicting Begonia over Handit. So, song Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. Lie to You from Sinners. Dear Me from Diane Warren. Relentless. It'd be insane to not predict it. The fact that it made the score shortlist and she didn't even write the score. Train Dreams from Train Dreams and Girl in the Bubble from Wicked for Good. Let's do that. I feel good about that. Let's roll with those. Sound. God, Warfare should be here so bad. Sinners, One Battle. I just keep starting off with those. I'm like, what are Sinners and One Battle doing? Frankenstein. F1. Yeah, I think F1's going to get another nomination here. And what else? Por qué? Did Surratt make sound? I didn't even pick Surratt in international because Surratt get a sound nomination without getting anything else. I think Springsteen made this list, but I don't think they're not going to give it to Springsteen. Oh God, fuck it, Surratt. I'm just gonna do Surratt. It should be Warfare. Like, why is Warfare not? How did it not make the short list? Oh, maybe Avatar. I forgot Avatar. Avatar's here. Avatar. Let's do Avatar for the 5th place spot instead of Surratt. And then visual effects, Avatar. Wicked for Good. F1. Actually like the idea of the Lost Bus. I think apparently Fire is really hard to do, and apparently they did a really good job of it. And I don't know, Mission Impossible. What else is such a weird category? The best, what did I think the best visual? It's not going to be Electric State, I can tell you that. Frankenstein's here. So Avatar, Frankenstein. I also have Sinners. Does Sinners get visual effects? So Avatar, Frankenstein, Sinners. Maybe Lost Bus doesn't get it. Wicked and F1. Sorry, Lost Bus. Nobody paid attention to you. All right. That's it. I'm not gonna do the shorts. So I have no idea. I'm not even gonna pretend like I do. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see if I get any of these right, and I'll see you guys on the other side.